Hey, thanks so much and welcome everybody to today's webinar on the new reality for customer engagement. And it certainly is a new reality given the way we're throwing not only a technology but an increasingly evolving set of proven best practices to make sure we deliver on customer experiences that are so critical to competing in today's high expectation marketplaces. So I'm glad you're with us. I think you're going to find the time today very worthwhile. Do want to let you just know that whether you are listening live or on demand, we are happy to take questions from you. We're going to have a Q&A session at the end of our live presentation, but please don't wait until we start that session to submit your question. If at any time either of our speakers says something that you want them to elaborate on or clarify, or even if you want to challenge an assertion they make, go ahead and submit your question. We'll get it in. And even if you're listening on demand, we will be able to get your questions and reply to you offline. So I encourage you to do that. Also want to introduce our two outstanding speakers today. First up is going to be Craig Clair, who's Vice President and Principal Analyst at Forrester Research. So he's been specializing in this area for more than a decade, a great Twitter follow. So looking forward to hearing his opening presentation. And Craig's going to be followed by Malcolm Ross, who's VP of Product at Appian. And the thing that I think is great about Malcolm is he has been in the software business for like 3 decades plus. I think he wrote his first application for wholesale mortgage market management when he was like 16 years old. And he's also done, early in his career, certainly a lot of consulting to financials and hospitality, a lot of sectors. So he really understands from your side of the business the challenges you face, both in terms of customer experience and managing software. So looking forward to hearing from both of them. And again, submit questions at any time so we have a nice interactive session and you get what you need out of this webinar. And without further ado, Craig, I'm going to turn things over to you.
Yeah, so thank you. It's great to be here and talking about one of my favorite subjects here, case management and how it relates to customer engagement. So we're going to talk about the new reality. And there's a lot of content here, and I'm going to try to keep it at a level pace in terms of difficulty and so forth. But first, the overall goal of all of this automation, such as case management, is really to address a stronger customer, stronger in the sense of a more empowered customer. Really, since the mobile innovation, 5-7 years ago, we've been creating a shift of more information power to the customer who has higher and higher expectations. So what we're really trying to do is, build more from, the outside in, to build more from the customer's perspective back into the organization and to provide that. And the technology we'll be talking about today, the platforms, the decisions, are all really, based on that one construct. Now, the omnichannel strategy. Let me just explain what our view of omnichannel is. It isn't the just having a ability for a customer to communicate over multiple channels. That is in a sense multi-channel. It's really the ability to understand what the customer is trying to accomplish. And for that, an omnichannel strategy really needs to understand the customer's context, where they are, what they're trying to accomplish, and then make seamless is an overused word, but basically to make it transparent to the customer in terms of what channel they're actually interacting with. So if they're coming in through the web channel and they need to return something in a store, or they need to send a text message, or they need to receive an email, that all of those channels should have an understanding of where the customer is in that overall journey. So they have a journey, and that's how most methodologies today, whether it be design thinking or customer journey mapping, really are trying to look at that, take that outside-in perspective, take a look at where the customer is, what they're thinking, what they're feeling, and omnichannel really addresses that. It absorbs that, essentially process information, and is able to create a next best capability or action that's appropriate, that pushes that customer forward in terms of understanding and accomplishing, what they're trying to do. So Here's just a quick summary of the challenge, and of course it's the challenge we all have. Desperate systems that are, some organizations I talk to in one line of business will have 50 to 75 legacy systems going back to Lotus Notes, going back to aged ERP solutions, different CRM versions that exist in the organization. So it's really hard to get that omnichannel understanding, because the information that relates to that customer context, they're, trapped and buried in these information silos. They're, repeated one-offs that are done maybe to optimize within a particular channel, but in a sense, it kind of institutionalizes and traps the customer in that channel. What you want to be able to do is to reuse automations in one channel and have a similar automation in the other channel so that, you can get a similar look and feel across channels. And a lot of companies are just doing brand damage to themselves. When they have an interaction with a customer that is on the phone, they're getting help in loading up a basket to purchase, and then they get back on the web to complete the transaction, and all the information is lost. So that type of customer experience more and more is the kind that makes a customer go into their wallet and pick out a different option. And personalization, the mountains of data that are being collected, which is somewhat controversial by the mega cloud platforms and others, has a value to individualize and to personalize, subject to appropriate governance for the privacy of the data. But really, that's where we're moving to be able to use that data to really drive a really individual experience. And we've seen customers really able to trade sort of their right to privacy by having that information known for a little bit of convenience. So we expect that pattern to continue, and even with the more responsible use of the data, we do expect a lot of interesting data, both surface data and behind-the-scenes data, to be used to really create really personalized experience. And so that's where a lot of companies are trying to go, and we think that's not a bad spot to go. So, omnichannel was challenging before we started to extend our use of chatbots and virtual agents and virtual assistants, which is obviously the whole idea of having a conversational interaction. A machine-based conversational interaction is a very hot area, basically. And in some extent, we're pushing chatbots because they're so available in our personal lives. We're pushing them and expecting them to do things for us in the business world that really they're not ready to do yet. There's just not enough conversational intelligence for most chatbots to carry a conversation with a human. That can go off in a number of different directions, in a normal interaction. So, there's a lot of what this slide shows is that a lot of the chatbot technology is going to be used first to augment human activity, where it's the human first and the machine second. The employee might be talking to the machine via chatbot interaction, and the machine's helping it get its work done and provide a better employee experience. Then ultimately will be much more customer directed as you move out to 2021 and 2025. As the technology, the AI underlying machine interactions with human improves. The point here is really that voice channel is going to happen. A new voice channel that's based on text or based on more of an avatar experience, and that's another channel. So it's not like omnichannel is getting easier. Now we have to essentially normalize all of the activity across all the channels, probably bring it into some kind of machine learning environment, have the various voice and text and elements all converted into and normalized, into data that can be used to continually update algorithms that will allow us to understand the customer. That's ultimately how you're going to solve this problem. But it's gotten more complicated with the chatbots. This is a little bit more of that same discussion around trying to leverage what the machine does best today and what humans do best today. And you see the human strengths are conversational intelligence, collaboration, connecting ideas, sentiment analysis. If we didn't understand as we evolved 100,000 years ago that a person we met in the woods was a friend, versus someone who might wish us harm, we were pretty quickly eliminated from the evolutionary chain, right? So the human ability to understand meaning from other humans is just so far beyond what we can program into a computer. So that's why we've drawn this centaur, which comes from Greek mythology. You have the human having the front part of the horse and the machine having the back part. We think that's a good metaphor for what we should be doing today. Let's keep humans first, keep the machine second, and that's what we're recommending for a lot of interactions. Now, all of this can be facilitated and enabled with case management. So this is a framework that we've had for a number of years, and it's held up very well. You can basically take almost any case management use case and put it into one of these three buckets. It's either investigative, where you're doing audit requests, you're looking at a fraud or compliance issues, maybe something in HR that might be a bad behavior, but you're launching an investigation, and what you want there is for the case to be set up immediately. You want to track from day zero, every conversation, every text, every email, every document that's related. You want that all trapped, in this sort of virtual folder, which is the case. And you want to have policies in there and rules and so forth for how to handle it, right? So, investigative is a very strong area for case. We also have incident management, where you have something, in acute healthcare or an adverse drug reaction in pharmaceutical, where boom, you have an issue, and you want everybody involved and looking at the same information and making decisions that are in an orchestrated fashion. And that's how you deal with a Tylenol crisis of having bad drugs injected into the supply chain. So you want people to jump right away, and that's where incidents really is a great case management area. The biggest one by far is service requests. And that's a service request could be anything. It could be loan origination. It could be submitting a proposal, customer onboarding. These are ones that tend to have be somewhat document-centric, but have the need for embedded rules management and for the orchestration. And we'll look at a few examples. But basically, that's a very, very strong area. Now, one of the things, the review that you're going to see in a minute, was a little bit different than our last one for case, in that we really felt there was a strong movement of companies that really wanted to host the case management platform in some form of cloud. So a strong growth in subscription revenues when I look at all the platform providers, and they're really offering a platform as a service mostly. And that means you're taking the software platform or case, and you're just putting it in AWS. You're putting it in the Microsoft Azure environment, and you're letting the customer build the application the way they always did. They're responsible for it. They build it. They're just leveraging the infrastructure and the software in the cloud. Past solutions, expose the entire execution capability. There's also a strong movement towards fully managed services, where might be a solution provider, a systems integrator, might say, what, we'll build the application for you. We'll have the platform in the cloud. It might be our cloud. It might be a major cloud environment, or we'll put it in your environment and make it a private cloud. But we'll build the application. We'll give you a contract. We'll give you a service level agreement. We'll take full responsibility for the application. And we may even charge you on a consumption basis, on maybe every case for the number of cases per month. So that's becoming more and more popular, as we see it. This is a review that we had of the various case platforms. You see, a good spread. You have some organizations, there are some software companies that are a stronger fit for a particular domain or vertical, or maybe they don't have as much cloud experience. Or their analytics, particularly in the predictive analytics area, isn't as strong. But as you can see, Appian did very well in this, in this review, and this was published in the beginning of 2018, so it's relatively fresh. Now, what really changed in that review? More and more complex use cases. I think that's got to be the headline. Complexity in this domain means number of integration points where you're using extensive APIs. The amount of customization relative to the user interface, relative to the business rules, relative to any process maps that are pulled up at various states in the development of the case. In terms of the complexity of data associations, which are part of integration, but they're really mapping data at each state in the case to databases and unstructured content as well, so that you're dynamically bringing up the right information at the right time. That's kind of the essence of dynamic case management, is to have a variable set of tasks, a variable set of data, a variable set of rules based on some notion of life cycle for a case, some notion of state transition. So we're seeing these platforms handle, more complex use cases and do it well. The whole idea is to abstract complexity. All of this is about programmer productivity in a way. You really want to have less dependence on custom code, and you're building an abstraction layer that gives you more of a declarative or model-driven way to essentially build code. I mean, at the end of the day, you're executing a fourth generation software language, but it's just you're building it with an abstraction that is easier in theory for the programmer to use, and ultimately to provide some flexibility to business users. Now, business users are getting more technical all the time, so these business users will have technical background that will be able to get into these design environments and be able to make changes to the rules, make changes to the work patterns, and so forth. But that's really the whole idea, is to abstract complexity. And we're seeing better rules management. We're seeing that data is taking more of a front seat, in that if you think of BPM, which these platforms, the stronger platforms, all derive from a strong business process management layer, and they built kind of the unstructured flexibility that you need in case, really with a framework on top of that, right? So when you've done that, you really think more of the information model than you do of the traditional task and process-based model. It sounds like a subtle difference, but it's actually really, really important, in that you're spending as much time modeling information as it flows through the state transition as you are modeling one task after another, which lends itself more to the production-oriented context of BPM as opposed to the less structured world of DCM. Hopefully that makes sense. So, case management, the options have increased, so the world's become a little more complex in that, these domain-specific cloud platforms up here to the left, and we all know, those are, there's ServiceNow, and there's Salesforce, and there's Jira from Atlassian, and, basically they're cloud platforms that have, worked from a particular domain, whether it be IT service management in the case of ServiceNow, or CRM in the case of Salesforce. And these are trending very very well. I mean, a lot of these SaaS applications are moving to the cloud, and so there's a lot of it, inertia and momentum in organizations to build process on top of these platforms, and they do have capability to do that. The Salesforce has a force.com. Jira has a full capability as well. So a lot of calls that I get or my interactions with Forrester clients is, so what do I do? Do I use an Appian and a horizontal case management platform? Do I build it within Salesforce? Or what about these fit-to-purpose providers out there that have a case management and they're totally focused on my business problem? They look pretty good too. I saw a demo. It did exactly what I wanted for legal matter management or for some governance, risk, and compliance area. So there's confusion about which direction to go in for many processes. So we have obviously some help and some frameworks that just kind of help that. That decision, which I'll go through in just a minute. Basically the three different areas have different strengths and weaknesses, and you have to understand what your, the driving requirements are for the particular direction. Now, some of that, if you think about, a high-value transaction, which you see on the top of this pyramid, like variable annuity processing or business banking, these are case areas that have a high degree of compliance concerns. They have a high degree of variability. And it's really an area where you can, really enhance the customer experience. More so as you get down the pyramid, the wider section here, you're really trying to move to straight through. These are transactional. These are more BPM-ish. And essentially the goal there is to reduce variability and to drive the process to straight through. But the top of this pyramid is really where case really shines. It's really where you can provide an exceptional customer experience because you're doing this in a very interesting way. And you're keeping the human first and the machine second. And the human, you're just enabling them with the best information, and the best task execution that they can possibly have. But you're allowing them to interact with others and to deal with recurring patterns of interaction. So that's where case management really has been showing significant success. And this is just an example. This is onboarding, but this is business banking. So this is, which is 40% of the banking world, but this is not boarding a customer to a retail bank. It's boarding a business to a banking relationship. So it's a little more complicated. You have a sales engagement piece. You have a lot of data gathering. You have a very strong know your customer. Know your customer is a requirement in the U.S. There are similar, aspects in Europe and around the world. But basically, if you're an individual, that's a fairly straightforward process. If you're a business, it's much more complicated workflow, basically. So you end up collecting a lot more information. And one of the problems is you're collecting information, the same information, at different points in the chevron, and creating a great length of time for boarding this business. And often you lose, banks lose the deal because it takes too long. It's too frustrating for the bank to do all this, right? So, case management comes in as a layer that allows you to understand, the holistic relationship, with this business. You might have other relationships with. It allows you to do more holistic reporting. It allows you to reduce the data entry burden by dealing maybe with an RPA, partnership to deal with the data entry and some of the data collection and so forth. So, basically that's what companies are doing. They're putting in an orchestration layer, come over these core systems and really, drive, much better customer experience. Now, RPA, as I mentioned, is, has a lot of talent and capability for building bots to really go into those core systems. And a lot of the case management world is coordinating activity across these siloed information areas. And a lot of times access to that is more efficiently done through an RPA layer than it is done through API and data integration, which is one of the core talents of case solutions, is to have strong API connectors and a way to visualize APIs, which is really important. But in many cases, there's some 80% of applications don't have APIs at all, and certainly not modern ones. So, use the bots, the RPA bots, to go through the desktop of the existing UI and get the information you need, and maybe help with that data entry we just saw. Or to take work off of a human queue, that was set up and orchestrated by the case solution, but the bots are essentially replacing some of the humans that are doing some of the low-value tasks. So it's a very nice combination of case management and RPA. So this is a little bit of a busy chart that I just want to walk through the logic of it more than the specific cells. But this is a framework that Forrester developed to deal with this issue of how do you pick the right direction to implement that next case process in your organization. And so you see the three alternatives that we talked about earlier. You've got the DPA world, which is, Appian is a good example of that. You've got the domain-specific cloud environment, so Salesforce and ServiceNow are good examples. Then you have these fit-to-purpose vendors. And so it's not as if one solution wins all the time. It really depends on these aspects on the left, which are, high-level, requirements. If collaboration is very, very important and strong, that tends to favor the more cloud-based solutions. Domain-specific cloud platforms generally have better collaboration capabilities, whether it's a chatter in Salesforce or some other area. But if you need business rules, there really is no embedded business rules in Salesforce. There's no rules management per se. You can build rules with configuration, but you don't have embedded rules capability. So, you can look through these requirements, and you can understand, which platform solution looks like the best bet. And it gives you a way to kind of have a real data and rational discussion about it. So in summary, let me just say that to better serve customers, organizations, capture and leverage customer context, very important to get that broader view. And the siloed view is what you want to avoid. That's the key to getting to Omnichannel. Don't settle for weak reporting and poor status control. And these platforms, these DCM platforms, really have very strong data visualization and management, analytics, collaboration, really help you do that.
So with that, I will turn it over to Malcolm, getting to his first slide.
Thanks, Craig. That's really insightful, how AI and machine learning and case management is really bringing together this new reality for customer engagement. I thought I'd share a little bit more information about Appian's perspective of how people are leveraging case management to really drive revenue inside of an organization. And then we're going to take a look at this in action. What does a modern case management customer engagement platform look like today? So again, if you think about this, is your customer engagement perceived by your company as a cost center or a profit center? That's really the first perception to overcome, is that customer service now is really a distinguishing quality of almost every single business, and not just the product you're offering, but also the service that you're providing and the quality of that service. And as you know, with almost any product, even if it is a hard good product, so much of that experience now is through the digital medium. Whether they're buying a pair of shoes, oftentimes there's a digital exchange, returns. All these pertain to customer service, which all pertain to the quality of the product and experience you're delivering to your customers. So thinking about this, you want to think about profitability drivers. What is really important in profitability? Cost is always a concern. We want to make sure we're delivering efficient experiences for our agents, but the impact of that's often very low, maybe not as strategic. Going up the chain, of course, we want to drive more revenue. We want to drive maybe additional cross-sell, upsell, promote new product capabilities, expand to new markets to drive additional revenue, which is also an important part of the contact center. But more importantly, it's the customer experience. Customer experience is the entire package, not just the product itself, but how that customer engages the entire organization. The contact center, case management, and applications of machine learning are now so important in how you're going to drive that strategic value and high impact to your business. So take a few examples from Forrester. There's a recent study there from how customer experience affects revenue. And one quote from Forrester Discovery was, a 1-point improvement in a retail bank's customer experience index score could result in as much as $124 million in increased revenue. Just one example of an industry in here, retail banking, of how an improved customer experience score by just a small amount can really drive additional revenue, customer satisfaction, expansion of new business opportunities for that customer as well. But take another example from the same report. They found that a 1-point improvement in a mass market auto manufacturer's customer experience score could result in $173 million in increased revenue. Thinking again about that customer experience, especially with an automobile vehicle, it's not just the initial purchase, it's the whole service cycle, the digital communication, how easy it is to call and get service. Can I text my local retailer or my manufacturer on a update I need on my platform, on my automotive platform? Can I very easily schedule service, receive that service in a timely manner? All that is really being remembered by that customer and going to make decisions on what product they buy next when they need a new car, or even upsell opportunities on that automotive offering as well. So taking a look at this, too often we find this, that customers disappointed with the experience, what's going on. But we always want to take a look at why is typically the customer disappointed? And oftentimes you'll find equal disappointment from the customer with the agent as well. With how the agent's interacting with that customer, they're also disappointed due to siloed IT systems, long wait times to get something satisfied. Any agent, we're going to make the assumption that wants to resolve a customer's issues very quickly and efficiently. They don't want to give them the runaround. They don't want to have trouble looking up information across multiple different systems, and they want to be able to predict what the customer wants so they can satisfy them more easily. So taking a look at this, this is often what you find behind the curtains in an agent desktop. You see lots of different screens all over the place. You find sticky notes all over the place. Oftentimes the sticky notes maybe have PII data because I asked for the person's PII information to validate them. I need to write it down because I need to type in that last 4 digits of a social security number into 5 different systems. So look up their customer details, look up their order stats, look up their inventory information. It's really not a good environment. We need to make this an efficient experience. And the technology supporting this efficient experience, as Craig mentioned earlier, is all around case management, bring information together into a single dashboard, and machine learning and artificial intelligence combined with customer engagement to intelligently drive predictive interactions with the customer. So Appian brings this together through 4 main pillars of functionality. First of which is customer engagement. We align the customer engagement such as the SMS channels, chat, telephony, IVRs, bring that customer engagement into the case management experience. Now, Appian is a unique offering that integrates to a variety of platforms such as Genesis or Twilio or other platforms. Whatever you might have for customer engagement, you can bring it into the case management experience for seamless integration of communication with the actual agent handling. And of course, Appian, as Craig mentioned, is a leader in dynamic case management capabilities. This is the idea of bringing together information into a single dashboard and being able to also flexibly handle many different potential actions. We also combine this with intelligent automation through a suite of product functionality. This is business process management, artificial intelligence and machine learning, business rules management, as well as robotic process automation and integration capabilities. And then finally, Appian delivers this in a low-code cloud platform, meaning that we don't expect our customers to simply adopt a package service management solution or a package contact center solution. We know that how a customer is going to differentiate their business is based on their customer experience, and that customization needs to be applied in digital technologies. So you need to be able to easily adapt the technology to your latest business drivers. So for example, visual design, allowing me to very easily modify process flows, business rule logic, not requiring very deep IT skills, and being able to do this in an agile fashion, being able to simply drag and drop, hey, I want to make this process more efficient. Let's analyze the number of steps in it, see if we can reduce those steps, and continuously adapt this over over time. This is delivered by the low-code functionality Appian platform, and of course, by delivering it in the cloud, allows you to focus on the application logic and flow and not the maintenance of that system. So let's take a look at this. The quick screenshot, but we're going to actually see a live demonstration of this all in action. Let's go ahead and swipe to my right here, and we're going to see a live action agent desktop experience built on the Appian platform. Now, to highlight some of the features that we see here, of course, right away I see my performance information at the top. So the agent's getting real-time feedback on their upsell, cross-sell, right, average call resolution time, customer satisfaction scores, and supervisor intervention information, as well as how they rank among their other agents, as well as Appian ships with a full case management, knowledge management capability. In the center there, I see information I can say, learn about upselling, cross-selling opportunities, assess customers' responsiveness, so I can continuously feed videos and content to those agents to continue their learning. Now in the upper left hand, I can see my status right now. So currently marked as unavailable, but let's go ahead and start receiving some calls, and in this case, maybe some SMS chat inside of here. So I turn on SMS chat. It's now waiting for inbound chat requests. I'm going to swipe over here to my iPhone shot, and now we can see a new text message for this contact center. So let's go ahead and click on that contact center. I'm going to pick up my iPhone here. And let's say, I'm not happy with my order, and I need to change it. There we go, a little speech-to-text recognition on the iPhone. And now I'm sending that message into that intelligent contact center. Now it's waiting for the queue. We'll swipe over here, and now I can see, hello, Malcolm. It's going to pick up there and say, send that text message to the agent, now start handling it. Now, a lot of information has changed here. So the inbound request just triggered that chat message in the upper left-hand side. Now, since Appian is integrated with native AI capabilities, we ship with native AI sentiment analysis. Every single communication with a customer can be analyzed by machine learning. So here I can see right away it's prompting to the agent the customer's last response and considered rather negative on that sentiment analysis. Now it's also recognized who the customer is, so it's done an intelligent lookup into my case library. Said, well, this customer by their phone number is Joe Rivera. He's from Penrose Energy. He's a customer since April. And also, it's automatically recording an activity log. So I don't need to manually create an activity log. It's going to record the interaction, track what's been initiated or the actions taken with that customer, and record that in the customer interaction. So right away, I also see that script. So I can say, well, I need to say, hello, thank you for contacting us. My name is Malcolm. Am I speaking with Joe Rivera? Let's go ahead and send that message back. I can see that contact message been sent over to me as I see here, and say, I'm just simply going to say yes, just like that. And now hands off, what we're doing also there is applying machine learning and artificial intelligence to automatically read the responses from the customer and correlate those to the potential actions and information the agent's been presented with. So the agent actually doesn't need to click on anything. It's automatically recognizing what the customer wants and clicking on the agent desktop flow automatically through language understanding, context awareness, and artificial intelligence. So go ahead and send another message. Thank you, Mr. Rivera. In order to maintain your security, I need to validate your social security number. So let's go ahead and type in, say, 4489. Again, as I send this message back, it's going to automatically correlate that to the intended action. I need to validate that, and it's validated that for me. So now I verify that this is Mr. Rivera. I'm presented with the last known action that this Mr. Rivera took with us. And it says, are you calling about the order they just placed on May 31st? So I recognize that there was an order in the system recently, and now I can go ahead and say, send that text message just like this. The agent is always given, though, the opportunity to modify the text. Of course, artificial intelligence, where we are with AI today, it's kind of like the Tesla self-driving car. You know, while the car can have some awareness of what's going on, the driver still needs to be in control. So again, while the AI is driving the interaction, the agent always has the opportunity to jump in, take a different action, modify the text string, and drive the customer action to make sure it's exactly what the customer is expecting to achieve a great customer score. So here I'm saying, well, okay, your account's been verified. Are you calling about that order? I'll simply again hit yes. And again, intelligently, it's going to recognize that positive response, correlate it with the potential actions, and drive the agent desktop forward. So say, all right, your order is not shipped yet, set to arrive on Wednesday by 8 p.m. Would you like me to upgrade the shipping? That looks good. Maybe is one of the potential actions I can offer there to this customer. So I'll go ahead and send that, upgrade the shipping. And yes, update the shipping. I'll go ahead and reply back. So again, now notice there I said, the text message said upgrade the shipping. It was kind of a yes/no. There's lots of different ways I could respond. I could have just said yes. I could have said upgrade the shipping. I could have said update the shipping. Lots of different words I could have possibly used to correlate that. Again, through machine learning and artificial intelligence and natural language processing, we can take that text string, correlate it to the potential actions, and automatically drive the intelligent desktop. So again, the agent didn't have to click on anything, automatically recognize that the customer wants to update the shipping. Now it's presenting the agent with what to say next. Here's the potential shipping options on their specific order, 2 days or overnight shipping. And again, I would like say overnight, just like that. And again, I'm going to reply overnight. It's automatically selected overnight for me. And again, to confirm that change, I'll go ahead and say upgrade your order to overnight shipping. I'll confirm that change. And I'm going to also offer a cross-sell. So it's automatically looked up all the potential upsell, cross-sell opportunities I have here, identify what's inside this customer's order, identify that they were maybe missing this Brother imaging drum to go along with their printer, and it's going to offer, say, hey, would you like to add this to your order? I can also maybe offer a top discount. So again, through business rules, for artificial intelligence, through case management, we've united all these into kind of this intelligent customer experience to drive that entire interaction. It's a great example of how these come together. Again, AI, automation, case management, creating a nice seamless experience, predicting what the customer wants by recognizing the last known transaction, using natural language processing to analyze inbound text strings, correlate that to the intent of what the customer wants, predicting that for the agent, and automatically driving the agent experience. So with that, pop back over to the presentation here. I'd like to thank everyone for joining today. Of course, if you'd like to learn more about Appian's intelligent contact center platform and case management capabilities, I encourage you to explore appian.com, as well as we have lots of additional learning that's going to be available as this eWeek webinar. This includes an overview of the Appian ICC, Intelligent Contact Center Platform, the Forrester Wave for cloud-based dynamic case management, as well as a white paper on the new reality for customer engagement. Thanks, and I'd like to pass it back to our host.
Yes, we do have plenty of questions. Thanks for that great demo. Some people might have been missing some sound on that, so I just want to let you know if you lost sound during the demo, take a look when you get a link for the presentation on demand, and the sound will be backlayed over that. So we apologize for that if you didn't get any of the sound. And again, we've got some time for questions now. I encourage you to send them in whether or not you're watching on demand, because again, even if you're not on live with us, we will still receive those questions and can get answers to you offline. So if you guys are ready for some questions, I've got a few here. One of them is for you, Craig. You had said early on, talking about kind of cloud-based systems and APIs maturing for some of this case management systems to link across disparate systems that may be required to keep track of what customers are doing and what's going on with our inventory or anything else. Can case management link flows across organizations as well as across systems? I'm thinking about situations where we may have a channel or supply chain partners who are also involved with our customer experience. Can you talk a little bit about that kind of case management that cuts across organizations as well as across our own internal systems?
Yeah, I would say generally not. These tools are used to really coordinate internal processes more than, because a lot of the orchestration is around core systems. So those are generally not things you get involved in other company access to. I mean, obviously there's a lot of collaboration technology and applications that are evolving, with different collaboration suites that are geared towards B2B interaction and so forth. But it's not really case management's strong point to do that. Their strength is really orchestrating, repeating, core processes of companies.
Yep. And also, I want to ask you another one, Craig, because Malcolm had talked about kind of the business impact of effective customer experience. And you had sort of mentioned generally what's going on as we seek to deliver these experiences, and you mentioned the FANG companies, et cetera. Are we seeing kind of a need to skate to where the puck is going to be because expectations keep escalating, not just based on, let's say, what our competition is doing within our own markets, but just generally people are having these experiences where they're having higher and expectations of the speed and the individualization of the service that they're experiencing from us?
Well, yeah, I mean, you're seeing, just like with mobile, which peaked in 2011 or 2012, as soon as people had working solid devices, they were increasingly aggravated when they were interacting with a company that couldn't be as mobily agile as the consumer technology was. And the same thing we're going to see in this AI light that I talk about, with the FANG companies, with Facebook and Amazon and so forth. That level of personalization that's based on our behavior being absorbed into machine learning algorithms, understanding now that's going to be expected, at companies. You're going to get the attitude of, I can't believe you don't know that about me. Do you really care about me as a customer? Because you don't seem to, maybe I'm in some micro segment that you've deemed, a hopeless case for additional revenue, but you should know that about me.
Yeah, and I also think that idea that somebody may be a hopeless case for additional revenue, we always have to be careful about that, because somebody who's a hopeless case for additional revenue can still do some reputation damage on social media. So absolutely. I'm always a little bit careful about people kind of taxonomizing customers by their...
the famous story there about the Maytag repair disaster for this woman who had 3 small children, and the laundry was piling up forever, and she had terrible service. Well, it turned out she was a leading author of books for mothers with postpartum depression, and had 400,000 followers on Twitter. And so she started, her tweets were like, never buy Maytag, and well, so it's like, 6 washer and dryer showed up at her doorstep the next day. But, no, you have to be very sensitive to the power, the power during the age of the customer.
And Malcolm, I wanted to ask you one, because you did the demo, and we're talking about kind of what it is that we have to and we're trying to create. But the issue isn't just what we're trying to create, right? It's also the constraints on the resources we have available to build them. And I'm not thinking purely about coder as coder headcount, right? Not just people who do code, but people who understand the business and who really understand what we're trying to achieve strategically, right? That's almost a bigger constraint, no?
Well, yeah, I think, two points to that. I think, obviously that's where low-code platforms really specialize in, is the challenge of having a jazz session between IT and your business, and to communicate exactly, hey, the business needs the process or the solution to work in this certain way, and then have that translate to a requirement docs to, say, then Java code and web coding, and then back to the business to say, is this probably what you built? That cycle is just fundamentally usually broken in many organizations, where it takes way too long for that cycle to get back to the business to validate kind of the deliverable, as well as the business can't really understand what's being built. Low-code tools, and of course this is really pioneered in business process management early on, of having a visual paradigm of laying out programmatic logic. So for process diagrams, being able to graphically lay that out and then sit down with your business and say, does this make sense? Yes, I can understand the process. I can understand how the things are connected and validate directly with IT that, yes, that's the solution I want, and then hit publish, and then that's the product. So there's no that translation issue that needs to translate to a 3GL development language, then gets lost back and creates time cycles. So that's really how low-code kind of brings that value of really accelerating the agile development cycles and increasing the fluidity of which you can collaborate with business and IT to deliver the solution. That said, as well, again, on the other side, you have the other talent issue of agents themselves. As Craig shared and Appian certainly recommends, is we're not at a point where we have a fully autonomous AI-driven customer experience. if you want to deliver great customer service, it's the combination of a human agent experience with kind of being assisted by robots and AI to facilitate the customer experience. So then how do you scale that? How do I make sure that, I have thousands of maybe agents who need to do the same thing? Again, delivering intuitive, simple experiences driven by AI is a big part of also how you kind of accelerate that learning and understanding of the solutions you bring forward.
Yeah, and I also think that's why it's interesting when we talked about rules, because there's this idea of not only constraints and then it's sort of an initial deliverable, but also this need we have to constantly tweak what we're doing as business strategy changes, as our competitors do other things, as realities in the market change. We have, as we want to do different types of marketing and promo and loyalty programs, that brings the need in to do all the ability to introduce new rules and modify rules really on the fly. We're getting near the top of the hour, so even though we have a bunch of questions left, again, I want to let everybody know if we didn't get to your question, we will get to it offline. Again, if you have any questions and you're not on with us live, please go ahead and share them. But real quick, maybe both of you could just share a final word of 30, 45 seconds or so. Craig, I'm going to ask you first. Anything you want to reiterate before we wrap up?
No, I think I pretty much summarized at the end there. I think you want to be focused on the customer journey and drive your modernization of these processes from that perspective. I think you want to have analytics be the brains and absorb information from multiple channels, bring that into a repository and organize the data. The algorithms will get better and better. And then have a process layer, have a case management solution where it meets the requirements to really manage the actions that you need. And I think that's a really, really good way to think about the omnichannel problem.
Malcolm, you got a few seconds.
Yeah, I think it would be remiss to have a conversation about customer service and not mention GDPR in some way as well. I think just that GDPR regulation that got enacted just last Friday across the European customer service, but having global impact, is really highlighting also the gaps that many organizations have in process controls and data unification. And it's that aspect, if you're having a challenge with GDPR, you probably have a broader challenge with customer service, is knowing all the interactions you have with those customers, using process and BPM tools to lay out those interactions and case management environments to bring it together into an intelligent experience. It's going to help you with GDPR, but also, of course, help you with increasing profitability of your customer service center as well.
Awesome. Want to thank you both for sharing so much great material so quickly. Again, point everybody to the resources we have, Forrester Wave, white paper, and document about the Intelligent Contact Center platform. And if you found your time with us today worthwhile, we look forward to inviting you to another session that we hope you get something out of. So on behalf of Craig and Malcolm, this is Lenny Liebman. Thanks so much for joining us and have a great day.